Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone from around the world that you listen with the MT Cow, the Buddhist Insights website, Facebook or YouTube. So nice to see you all. I'm Ayya Khemavamsi. Hello, Yankee Apple. Hello, Matches. Today we will learn together the contemplating Dhamma in pairs. Before we start, let us pay respect to the Triple Gem together. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu. Okay, today I have discussed a sutta for you. This sutta is quite new for me. Actually, one of the Thai listener, we have the Dhamma talk in Thai as well in our monastery, and there's one man suggests this sutra. It's called Dvayatānupassanāsutta. Dvayatānupassanāsutta or Contemplating Pairs from Anthology of Discourse 3.12. I have attached the files for you so you can have a look at the file. Here I'm going to use from the translation of Bhikkhu Suchato as written in Sutra Central, Dvayatānupassanāsutta, Contemplating Pairs. So let's start now. Okay, I will read from the discourse. So I have heard, here is the Ananta Bhikkhu. So I have heard, at one time the Buddha was staying near Savatthi, was staying near Savatthi in the eastern monastery. Now at that time it was the full moon on the 15th day, which is tomorrow is the full moon of the 15th day as well. And the Buddha was sitting in the open surrounded by the Sangha of monks, by the group of monks. Then the Buddha looked around the group who were very, very silent. He addressed them. Suppose Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika, or mendicants, suppose they question you that there are skillful teachings that are noble, emancipating, and lead to awakening. What is the real reason for listening to such teachings? You should answer, only to truly know the paths of teachings. And what paths do they speak of? This sutra starts off, at the Savatthi, when the Buddha was surrounded by the group of Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, Upasika. And then the Buddha said, what if someone question you? Okay, there are skillful teachings that are noble, that lead to awakening. What is the real reason for listening to such teachings? The Buddha said, you should answer, only the real reason for listening to the teachings is only to truly know the paths of teachings. And what paths do they speak of? The first one, this is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the first contemplation. Another one, this is the cessation of suffering. This is the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering. This is the second contemplation. When a mendicant meditates, rightly contemplating a pair of teachings in this way, diligent, keen, and resolute, they can expect one of two results: enlightenment in the present life, or if there's something left over, non-return, or the anakhami, the one returner. The third type of the noble disciple. The first one is Sotapanna. The second one is Sakatakhami. Anakhami is the third one, is non-returner. And the fourth one, the last one, is the Arahant, or the perfected one. So this is very interesting to learn, right? That, okay, the Buddha said, if people ask you what is the real reason for us to listening to the teachings of the noble, and then you should answer, for us to truly know the pairs. Which pairs? This is the first one. There is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. Of course, this is number one and number two in the Four Noble Truths, right? You have to know what is suffering, dukkha. What is the origin of suffering, dukkha samuddayo. This is the first one, the first contemplation, the first group, first pair. Another pair is, this is the cessation of suffering, nirodha. This is the practice leading to the cessation of suffering, or the Tukha Nirodha Khamini Patipatha. This is in Pali, right? This is the second contemplation. So from the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha said, from the Four Noble Truths, you can divide into two pairs. The first one, number one and number two, this is about Tukha, about suffering. This is suffering, and this is the cause, the origin of the suffering. First pair. The second pair is the third and the fourth of the Four Noble Truths, right? The cessation of suffering and the path that lead to the cessation of suffering. So this is a second pair about Nirodha, about the liberation, the awakening, the end of suffering. So you have suffering and the end of suffering. Two pairs. The Buddha said, when you meditate and you contemplate rightly the path of teaching in this way, diligent, keen, resolute, you can expect one of the two. There are two results. You can expect one of the two. Either the enlightenment in the present life, you reach Nibbana, the true awakening, the right liberation, or if there's something left over, if you still have the attachment in the jhana, in meditative state, something like that, you're going to be the non-returner, the third type of the noble disciple. So you're not going to return to the earth. You're not going to return to be in the womb of the woman anymore. No more rebirth in the world, in the earth, but you're going to be reborn in the Brahma realm, in that, and then you reach the Nibbana up there in the Brahma realm, higher than the heaven realm. Okay, that is the first one. And then the Buddha said, there are those who don't understand suffering and suffering cause, and where all suffering ceases with nothing left over, and they do not know the path that leads to the stilling of suffering. They lack the mind's release, as well as the release by wisdom. Unable to make an end, they continue to be reborn and grow old. The lack the mind's release here is Ceto Vimutti. Ceto Vimutti. When you reach the liberation, the release here is the same word as liberation, or the same word as reaching the Nibbana. So when you have the liberation, you can have either one. The mind, no, not the either one. The first one is you can be liberated through mind, Ceto Vimutti, and then wisdom, Panya Vimutti. This is the first way to liberate. Another way is through wisdom release or the liberation by wisdom. So, yeah, this is why we have the two types of meditation, right? Samatha and Vipassana, or in English, tranquility and insight meditation. You cannot reach Nibbana only through tranquility meditation. You need tranquility meditation and then or plus insight meditation. This is one way. Another way is through insight meditation only. But when you can reach the insight meditation, reach that state only through the one-pointedness of mind, which it requires the samatha anyway. But here the Buddha said, if you don't know the Four Noble Truths, then you cannot be liberated through the mind or through wisdom. You cannot be liberated by this. So in order to have the right liberation, you have to know the Four Noble Truths, which is actually the first type or the first one of the Eightfold Noble Path, Noble Eightfold Path, Noble Eightfold Path, Ariya Magga. Okay. But there are those who understand suffering and suffering's cause, and where all suffering ceases with nothing left over, and they understand the path that leads to the stilling of suffering. They endowed with the mind's release as well as the release by wisdom, able to make an end, they don't continue to be reborn and grow old. So this is the first pair. So the point is, if you know the Four Noble Truths, like truly know, and then you'll be able to be liberated through the mind and the wisdom. And then you don't continue to be reborn and grow old. No more rebirth. The next pair is all the suffering that originates is caused by attachment. This is the first contemplation. Another pair is with the utter cessation of attachment, there is no origination of suffering. This is the second contemplation. And then when a mendicant meditates in this way, they can expect enlightenment or non-return. Then the Buddha went on to say, attachment is the source of suffering. In all its countless forms in the world, when an ignorant person builds up attachments, that fool returns to suffering again and again. So let one who understands not build up attachments, contemplating the origin of suffering and rebirth. That is the second pair. So the first pair, the Four Noble Truths, right? The second one, the Buddha talked about the origin, which is the suffering. The attachment. All the suffering, you have to know two pairs. All the suffering that originates is caused by attachment. This is the first one. Another one is you have to know that no more attachment, meaning no more suffering. If you learn how to detach, and then the happiness arises, no more suffering. Then you have to know these pairs as well. This is the contemplation that you have to contemplate. Attachment is the source of suffering, right? When you want something and then you get it, then you attach to it with the notion of self. This is mind, my idea, my job, my life, my children, my parents, my car, my house. So if you attach to it, the more you attach, the more you suffer, right? Because, yeah, when you say like, oh, my house is on fire, then you're gonna be like so sad, so, right? But when you see someone's house got burned, you might, oh, that's so sad. But you feel sad for them, but you don't feel the suffering inside because you have no attachment to that house because it's someone else. So if you attach to anything, that is, you have to know that that is the source of suffering, that is the origin of suffering. So how can you live your life without attachment? Like we're not the perfected one, we're not the arahant yet. So what we can do is that we have to follow the noble eightfold path, and then we have to live with the right wisdom that, okay, now I attach to it. No, don't attach. If you attach, it's gonna be the suffering, but you know how to handle it. Okay, I have the responsibility to do this, so I'll do my job, I'll do my part as much as I can without clinging, without wanting it to be like this or like that, because I cannot control anything or something like that. You need to have the right wisdom to be able to detach, or practice to detach. Okay, next pair, the Buddha said, all the suffering that originates is caused by ignorance. This is the first contemplation. Another contemplation is, with the utter cessation of ignorance, there is no origination of suffering. The previous one, the Buddha talked about the attachment, right? This one, the Buddha talked about ignorance, delusion. Then the Buddha went on to say, those who journey again and again, transmigrating through birth and death, they go from this state to another. For example, from this human being to another being, as animal, as deva, as another state, destined only for ignorance. For ignorance is the great delusion, because of which we have long transmigrated. Those beings who have arrived at knowledge do not proceed to a future life. So you still transmigrate to through birth and death and old age, from this state to another state, only because of ignorance, because of delusion. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of the Four Noble Truths. Another pair is, all the suffering that originates is caused by fabrications. This is the first contemplation. The second contemplation, the Buddha said, with the utter cessation of fabrications, there is no origination of suffering. I believe the last night Pante Sudaso discussed about 12 link of dependent origination, right? So this sutra have a link, have the relation to it. If you notice, this one, ignorance. Ignorance or avisha is the first one in the paticca samuppada, or the 12 links of dependent origination, right? Avisha paccaya sankhara, because of ignorance. Then the fabrication or the sankhara arise. This is the second one, fabrication. Sankhara, there are many translations for this word in Pali. Sankhara, volitional formation, karma formation, or fabrications. This is the second link of the paticca samuppada. There are three types: bodily fabrications, whatever you do the actions through body, physical action, but you do it, with the formations of merit, formations of demerit, like do the wholesome thing, unwholesome, and then you try to the third one is anencha, right? I think that is the word. You try to reach the meditative state like the chana. You try to force the mind to be still, something like that. Bodily fabrication, verbal fabrication, and mental fabrication. Okay, and then we have the question and answer later on. All the suffering that originates is caused by volitional formation or the fabrication or the karma formation, whatever words that you understand the most. With the cessation of karma formation, there is no origination of suffering. Knowing this danger, that suffering is caused by fabrications, through the stilling of all fabrications and the stopping of perceptions, this is the way suffering ends. This is about sankhara. For those who truly know this, rightly seeing knowledge masters the astute, understanding rightly, having thrown off Mara's yoke, do not proceed to a future life, no more rebirth. Another pair is the Buddha talk about the third one, not the second one, sorry. The third one and the sixth one, Vinyana and Phassa. Here is the link of the Paticca Samuppada Vipankha. It's about the 12 link of dependent origination in detail, so you can have a look later on. The Buddha said all the suffering that originates is caused by Vinyana. Vinyana you can translate as the consciousness, the mind, and also through contact. Contact is Phassa. This is the first contemplation. And then with the utter cessation of Vinyana and contact of Phassa, there is no origination of suffering. Vinyana here, why I use the word in Pali, because maybe I think you should use the word mind, but many translations they use the word consciousness, so I'm gonna stick with the Pali language then. Vinyana here is the third link of the Paticca Samuppada. There are mind, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and intellect consciousness. So why the suffering originates by consciousness? Here, the word vinyana, if we talk about the 12 link of dependent origination, it can mean the the soul that be reborn in this body. It can mean like that. Vinyana is like the soul that come to this body. So because of still be reborn, and then the suffering comes after. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Vinyana here, avijja paccaya sankhara, because of delusion, because of ignorance, then the fabrications through body, speech, and mind arise, right? And because of you still have the karma formation, the fabrication, then you still have to be reborn. And when you be reborn, the soul or the vinyana come to this body, and then you be reborn. And the Buddha said, Vinyana Paccaya Nama Rupang, right? Because of you be reborn, and then you have the Nama and the Rupa. You have the, hang on, I have to see the English translation. You have the name and form. Because of the soul come to this body, and then you have the name and the form, or the Rupa, Nama Rupa. Or it can mean the consciousness. For example, if the mind, so this translation, another one, we're going to use the word mind. The first one, the vinyana, the first one that I taught, I try to use the word soul. When when you dead, and when whoop, vinyana come into another new form, even though you be reborn as human, as animal, as the hell being, or as in the Deva realm, you be reborn, and the soul come into that form. That is the first translation of the word vinyana. So when you be reborn, then you have the nama and rupa, or the name and form after that, and then you have the ayatana, or the feel, what is it called? You have the sixth sense media, sixth sense base, whatever you call or translate in English, right? That's the first one. Another translation, another meaning of vinyana is the mind, the knower, something that comes to know through eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So there's a lot of words that used in Pali as vinyana, but for in English, they have like another translation. I think I'm going to use the word knower, the one that know. Why? Because if we have to talk about the word contact first, contact, right? Contact or phassa. There are three components to create the contact or phassa. The first one, vinyana, or the first one, the ayatana here, the sixth sense base inside the body, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. This is the first one. Another one is the light, sound, smell, taste, body sensation, and what can be learned through the mind. For example, perception, memory. This is the second one. The third one is the vinyana. Vinyana here can use the word mind as well, or knower, or consciousness. So the consciousness here, when we use Chakku Vinyanang is like the something to know here. For example, if you sleep, while you sleep, you don't know the body sensation, right? Because at that time, when you dream, that means the mind is here in the mano thawara, inside the mind. There is no consciousness in eye, ear, tongue, nose, and body, because at that time the mind stay inside here, the heart, right? Mano thawara is in Pali language. But when you wake up, and the consciousness, and there is some sound like loud noise, the consciousness or the mind come into the ear, and then because you have the nerve that is still good, that is still working here in the ear, you have loud noise somewhere else, and then the consciousness or the mind come to the ear, and then you have the contact. And that is called contact or phassa. So the first one that the Buddha said, all the suffering that originate is caused by vijnana. The first meaning, because you still have ignorance, delusion in the past life, so you still have to be reborn. And when you be reborn, all the suffering comes after. Sickness, aging, heartbreak, and so on, right? And also because of the contact, because of you still have the nerves around the eyes that are still working fine. You still have the light and all the view outside, and have the mind to come to know in the sense base here. Then you will feel something, you will think something, you will remember something because of the contact. The contact brings perception, memory, and thinking and the thought. It comes together with the contact. It means if you think, if you remember bad memory and then all the suffering, oh, I suffer again because of the contact, that I cannot even control the contact, right? You cannot control what you see. You can still stay in your room all day, but if you still have the mobile phone, and then you scroll down or your Facebook or whatever application that you use, and then there are contact. Oh, the rose brings back my memory that when my boyfriend gave me that blah blah blah. So if there's still the contact, then the suffering still exists. And then the Buddha said another contemplation with the utter cessation of the no more rebirth or no more vijnana, another component in creating the contact of phassa. Then there is no origination of suffering. But why? I cannot end the vijnana because I'm still alive, right? I'm still breathing, I'm still have the mind, the soul in this body. I still cannot control the contact. So next, that is why we have the next one about that is why we have to learn the first one of the dependent origination, which is delusion or ignorance. For example, if you are ignorant, if you still have delusion of something as not self to be as self, if you have the contact, okay, you see this picture and it brings back your bad memory. But if you know that this is just the memory, if you have the right knowledge, and then no more suffering. But if you still have the delusion or ignorance, you still think of the memory as mine, as something that's still going on, that's something that gonna last forever. If you still have that delusion, then it is the origin of suffering. So now that we're still alive, now that we still have the contact, how to break that cycle is through knowledge, the wisdom. Okay. The topic of 12 links of dependent origination is very hard to explain, and there's a lot. Like they have like the thesis or in when the monks in Thailand, they have like the university of the monks of the monastic. The monks can study there, and the lay people can study there as well. But they're gonna focus their subject on religion, on philosophy, on Buddhism, and they have like the course of the subject of 12 links of dependent origination, that in this, you can learn like for a long time, and then you can do like the thesis in this one as well. Okay, next. Here the Buddha talk about the contact, that those mind in contact swept down the stream of rebirths, practicing the wrong way, are far from ending the fetter of fetters. But those who completely understand contact, who understanding delight in peace, by comprehending contact, they are hungerless, extinguished. No more rebirth. The next pair is all the suffering that originates is caused by feeling. Another contemplation is with the utter cessation of feeling, there is no origination of suffering. If you notice here is, the first pair from this discourse, the Buddha talk about the Four Noble Truths. After that, the Buddha talk about the 12 links of dependent origination. But not all. The Buddha talk about avijja paccaya sankhara, about the ignorance and sankhara, karma formation or fabrication. And then sankhara paccaya vinyanang, the Buddha talk about vinyana, consciousness, or the fact that you have to be reborn because of the soul come to the body. That is another meaning, another translation, right? Sankhara paccaya vinyanang, vinyana paccaya nama rupang. This one the Buddha did not mention in this sutra. No more addressing the name and form, right? Nama paccaya salayatanang. The Buddha here in this sutra did not talk about the sense base, the six sense base, ayatana, salayatana, phassa, salayatana paccaya phassa. Phassa is the contact that we just discussed, right? Phassa paccaya vedana. This is vedana or the feeling. So this is in the 12 links of dependent origination. Okay? The Buddha said all the suffering is caused by feeling. And if you want to end the suffering, then you have to be with the end of suffering. No more suffering. But how? No more rebirth. If you are not reborn, then no more. No more consciousness, no more contact, no more feelings. But now that you are reborn already, now you have the human form already, it's unavoidable. It's, we cannot avoid to have feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. But after this, after vedana or after the feeling, vedana paccaya tanha, of course, now we reborn already. Now we have the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. We have the full circle of contact. Then we have the feeling, because we see, because we hear, because we can taste, because we can feel. But you can break through the link because vedana paccaya tanha, because of the feeling arise, and with the delusion, with the ignorance of avijja, the first one, then tanha or the craving arise. So if you know how to break the cycle from the feeling, if the feeling occur and you have the delusion, oh, this is my feeling, this is good feeling, I want more, this is bad feeling, I want to, to end, something like that. If you still have the delusion of the feeling as self, then craving arises. So here, if you have the feeling with the delusion, that is the origin of suffering. But if you can break, okay, I can feel, I can taste, I can smell, I can, have the feeling, but with the right knowledge, and then you can end the suffering. The Buddha said, having known everything that is felt, whether pleasure or pain, as well as what's neutral, both internally and externally, as suffering, deceptive, falling apart, they see it vanish with every touch. That's how they understand it. With the ending of feelings, a mendicant hungerless extinguished. For example, just like when the perfected one, the Arahant, they can still feel, see, and because they can see, they can hear, they can taste, so they can feel pleasant, unpleasant, and the neutral. But okay, even though they live in the heat, like in Thailand now, like very hot, but internally they don't have suffering because of the heat. So the perfected one, even though they have the feeling good or bad or neutral, they can stay peaceful inside. They can still live with happiness, no suffering inside, because they truly know that, okay, it vanished every touch. It's falling apart. Good feeling falling apart, bad feeling falling apart, neutral feeling in meditative state falling apart. It's just transient and always changing. If you can really understand like this, with the ending of feeling, you'll be no more rebirth, extinguished. Next one, see, Vehana Pacaya Tanha. The Buddha talked another link of dependent origination about the craving, desire, tanha. All the suffering that originate is caused by craving or tanha, desire. End of desire is the end of suffering. Craving is a person's partner as they transmigrate on the long journey. They go from this state to another but don't escape transmigration. Knowing this danger, that craving is the cause of suffering, rid of craving, free of grasping, a mendicant would wander mindful. And then, as you can guess, maybe, Tanha Pacaya Upatanang. Upatanang is the grasping or the clinging on, holding on to something. Upatana, right? The Buddha said all the suffering originates is caused by grasping. There's one teacher say the clinging on, the grasping is like the shadow of the craving. If you crave something and when you get it, automatically you're gonna grasp or you're gonna hold on to it. Mine, my car, my house, my mobile phone, my project, my blah blah blah. So, tanha pacaya upatanang, because of the craving, the clinging or the grasping arises. Why? Because of the avisha or the delusion. Okay? And then the Buddha said, grasping is the cause of continued existence. One who exists falls into suffering. Death comes to those who are born. Because you are born, then you eventually gonna die. So people say, don't afraid of dying. Don't be afraid of death. Be afraid of being reborn again. Because if you are born, then aging, sickness, and death gonna come. This is the origin of suffering. That's why with the end of grasping the astute, understanding rightly, having directly known the end of rebirth, do not proceed to a future life. Next one. This is not about the 12 link of dependent origination. This, the Buddha gonna talk about the Rupa Chana and Arupa Chana. You know, when you reach the one-pointedness of mind, you reach the chana or like the stillness, you know, in the meditative, like the calmness and peacefulness. They are called, you know, from the 5th to the 6th, to the 8th. The number 1 and number 4 is called the form state. You still have the in breath and out breath. You still can feel the feeling. But from the chana, from number 5 to number 8, you know, in meditation, there are 8 stages of meditative state of mind. The number 1 and number 4 is called form state. Form, because you still can feel the breath. But from number 5, 6, 7, and 8, this is called formless, arupa chana, no more form, because you cannot feel the breath. You're still alive, you're still breathing, but you cannot feel the breath. It has entered into the formless state. Okay, so the Buddha said, if you want to contemplate, then contemplate this pair. Formless states are more peaceful than states of form. If you reach the number 1 and number 4 chana, okay, it's fine, it's peaceful, but the formless states is more peaceful. This is the first contemplation. But cessation, nibbana, the end of suffering, or nibbana, nirvana, is more peaceful than formless states. It's even, you know, is transgress, is beyond. Nirvana is beyond the meditative states of mind, especially the formless states. So when people want to reach the first, the second, the third, the fourth chana, it's still peaceful, but the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th is more peaceful. But nirvana is even greater than that. The Buddha said, there are beings in the realm of luminous form. If you reach the 1st to the 4th chana a lot, and then you be reborn in the Brahma realm. The Brahma realm for the form. But if you meditate the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th chana a lot, and then you be reborn in the Brahma realm for the formless. So even in the Brahma realm, they have like many like stages, many levels, depending on what you practice as a human being. If you practice frequently in the form states, then you be reborn in the Brahma realm for the form. Okay, see? In the realm of luminous form. But if you practice in the formless chana a lot, and then you be among the formless. Here again, there are beings in the realm of luminous form and others stuck in the formless. See the words stuck is not a good place for you to go, because they're gonna live for a long time. And if you live that long, you might miss the opportunity to see the Buddha and to listen to the Dhamma of the Buddha. So even you can be reborn as the Brahma realm, like happily ever after up there for a long time. But the Buddha used the word stuck. You're gonna stuck there for a long time and you're gonna miss the opportunity to get enlightened by listening to the words of the Buddha. Others stuck in the formless, not understanding cessation, they return in future lives, they have to be reborn again. But the people who completely understand form, not stuck in the formless, released in cessation, you have reached the nirvana. They are conquerors of death, no more rebirth. And this is another one. What this world with its gods, Mara and Brahma, this population with its ascetics and Brahmins, its god and humans, focuses on as true, the noble ones have clearly seen with the right wisdom to be false. What this world focuses on as false, the noble ones have clearly seen with the right wisdom to be true. See how the world with its gods imagine not self to be self, habituated to name and form, imagining this is truth. For whatever you imagine it is, it turns out to be something else. And that is what is false in it. For the ephemeral is deceptive by nature. Extinguishment has an undeceptive nature. The noble one know it as truth. Having comprehend the truth, they are hungerless and extinguished. For example, here the Buddha said, what people who are putushana, who still have not become the noble disciple, it's like everyone, like the ordinary people who still have the false belief, who still see not self as self, my idea, your idea, my house, your house, my feeling, your feeling. You still see something that is actually not self as self. You still think of something that actually gonna change, but you see it as permanent, or you want it to be permanent. You see it as, true. This is true. This is really me. This is really you. This is something gonna last forever. But the Buddha said, for the noble disciple, the one who see the truth as it is, they know that what you see is true is actually false. It's not the self, it's non-self. You cannot cling on to that memory because it's gonna change anytime soon. It's gonna change when the noble disciples see the three characteristics, anicca, dukkha, anatta. It's gonna change. It cannot last forever. It's transient. It's non-self. And if you can see like this, what people say, you, me, Mary, James, you can see it like, no, it's not you, me, Mary, James. It's the five aggregates. It's something that comes together and eventually it's gonna, disappear. You see things as they really are. Okay. And the last one, the Buddha said, what this world with its gods, Mara, Brahmin, the population with its ascetic and Brahmin, its God and humans, focuses on as happiness, the noble one have clearly seen with the right wisdom to be suffering. There's no real happiness. It's gonna change. It's gonna change. But what this world focus on as suffering, the noble one have clearly seen with the right wisdom to be happiness. For example, we as the monastic, we see like, okay, when we eat only like 1 or 2 meals a day, when we, practice ourselves hard in the forest, we have to, tame the mind. We have to train ourselves to be, as what we should be trained. People might see like, oh, that is suffering. Why you have to torture yourself like this? But we see the training ไตรสิกขา the training in precept, the training in meditation, the training in wisdom as happiness. Because we have the goal, the ultimate goal, that is nirvana, the supreme happiness. We know the suffering. We have to learn the cause of suffering and get rid of the cause of suffering, right? And then we have to follow the path leading to the end of suffering. We know this, and we don't think of it as a suffering, but we think of it as happiness. That's for example. When a mendicant meditates, rightly contemplating a path of teachings in this way, diligent, keen, and resolute, they can expect one of two results: enlightenment in the present life or non-return. Sights, sounds, tastes, smell, touches, and ideas, the lot of them, they are likable, desirable, and pleasurable as long as you can say that they exist. For all the world with its gods, this is what they deem happiness, and where they cease is deemed as suffering for them. The Noble One has seen as happiness the ceasing of substantial reality. This insight by those who see contradicts the whole world. What others say is happiness, the Noble One says is suffering. What others say is suffering, the Noble One knows as happiness. For example, the lay people or many people might say like, okay, to have a new house, to have a new phone is my happiness. To lay down all day and watching like Netflix is my happiness. But the Noble One say that is the cause of suffering. It's gonna be the cause of cycle of rebirth. So yeah, this is another example. See, this teaching is hard to understand. It confuses the ignorant. There is darkness for the shrouded, blackness for those who don't see. But the good are open, like light for those who see. Though close, they do not understand. Those fools inexpert in the teaching. They are mired in desire to be reborn, flowing along the stream of lives, mired in Mara's way. This teaching isn't easy for them to understand. Who, apart from the Noble One, is qualified to understand this state? Having rightly understood this state, the undefiled becoming fully extinguished. And this is the end of the discourse. So this is how the Buddha said, okay, you should contemplate the Dhamma into pairs. So we can learn here, the Buddha talk about the Four Noble Truths, the links of dependent origination, some links, not all, and then talk about, place importance on nirvana, the supreme happiness, and then talk about, like how to see about non-self, about the three characteristics, right? Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta, something like that. Okay, now it's time for the question and answer. This is a very, very long sutra and it's quite difficult to explain, so I hope you understand. Hello, Marcius. Hello, Yankee Apple. Hello, Dharma learner. Good evening, Ayya, and to everyone joining the talk. May everyone be well and safe. Sadhu. Hi, Vivian. Hi, Pili. Hi, Kim Gordon. Hello from Maine. Hi, Kash. Hi, Usha, right? Hi, Pumika from New Jersey. Hi, Jia. Hi, Purification Monk. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Venushka asks where the place's next birth can be happen. Is it within this solar system or in another solar system? I have no idea. I don't know about where the beings have to be reborn to. It depends on the karma, and I don't know about that. Hi Sooth. Hi Yasuko Yamamoto. Hi Dharma learner. Thank you Ayya for explaining the different translations slowly and carefully. Having you work with multiple translation is very helpful for us English-speaking person find a better understanding. Yeah, because when we learn in Pali through the system of Thai people, through the Burmese people, because the Pali language can be, like spread around the world, right? And we as Thai people, we learn from the Burmese and from Sri Lanka, I think. From Sri Lanka, from Burmese, from Myanmar, and then Thailand. So there's one translation. Oh no, two translations, even in Thailand. Yeah, two translations. And then when I'm gonna find the discourse sutra to do the English Dhamma talk, and then there are many more translation, but sometimes it's the same, but sometimes it's not really the same. So I try to explain to you like more, because from what I understand, I'm not the expert, I'm not the arahant, I'm still the learner. So from what I understand from this translation. I think it makes sense, so I just want to share. That's all. Mhm. Harry Kane said, after our monk passed away, Hyun Guo-yong and Yu Ok-hee, who sold the temple and Buddha and disappeared into hiding, should be punished. Sorry for your monk that passed away. Hello, Ronan Tan. Hello, Suth. Dear Ayya, how does one see the truth as it is? It is with the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path? Yes, because of the truth of the Noble Eightfold Path, because we have the right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and then you reach the right contemplation. And when you reach the right contemplation, and then you see things as it really is, as they really are. From many discourse, they're going to use this word. After you reach the right contemplation, you see things as they really are. You see the three characteristics. Through the right concentration, then you have the right jhana or the right wisdom, and through the right wisdom you have the right liberation or samma vimutti. That is all the 10 cycle. Marcius asks, thank you Ayya, what is the difference between Ceto Vimutti and Panya Vimutti? Ceto Vimutti is like the liberation through the mind. It's through the tranquility meditation, samatha meditation. For example, if you meditate, and then you reach the one-pointedness of mind, you reach the peacefulness, the tranquility, but just like that. You cannot see the arise and cease. You cannot see the thought arise and cease. You cannot see the feeling arise and cease. You just peaceful, tranquil, calm. That is the Ceto Vimutti. But you cannot reach nirvana only through the Ceto Vimutti or the liberation of the mind. No, you cannot. The Buddha said you can reach the nirvana two ways, Ceto Vimutti and Panya Vimutti, or Panya Vimutti. So you have to train the mind to be stable, to be to have the power, to be powerful, to be strong, to be calm, for the knowledge to reach the knowledge, or to understand. How can you understand? You cannot control the mind to understand. You cannot control the wisdom to arise as you please. You cannot do like that. What you can do is you listen a lot, contemplate, reflect a lot, over and over and over and over. Just like when you collect the money into the piggy bank. I don't know what's it called. Collect the money. Collect. And one day when it's full, gonna be that day that the wisdom arise. So Panya Vimutti, you have to be liberated. You have to know. You have to be liberated through the wisdom. Oh, now I get it. Anicca Dukkha Anatta. Now I get it that the mind is not self. Now I get it that the feeling comes arise and cease. Now I get it. But you can reach the liberation through wisdom, through the tranquility meditation too as well, Otherwise, the mind is not powerful enough. The mind gonna be the monkey mind, gonna be, sway like this and that and this and that. But if you be able to collect, and be focused, one pointedness of mind through samatha meditation, and with a lot of, factors for the wisdom to arise. And after that, if the wisdom arises, Ceto Vimutti, Panya Vimutti, then you can reach the nirvana, or through the contemplation alone, the liberation through the wisdom. But as I said, you cannot contemplate if you haven't practiced tranquility meditation. So it's another tool, essential tool for you to reach the wisdom. You cannot control the mind to have the wisdom right now. No, you cannot. But you can collect. You have to, accumulate the factors for the wisdom to arise. For example, the two factors, palato kosa, you listen, or you read, or you learn. And then yoniso manasikara, you have to contemplate, to reflect. Listen and then contemplate. Listen and then contemplate. If you do like this a lot, then the wisdom gonna arise. That's it. Hi Pili. Pili says Satu, Satu, Satu. Hi Karuna. Hi Kavs. Hi Aram. Maria. Hi Kit. Hi Jim McCarty. You said, I must apologize for being late due to time difference and work obligation. That is so fine. You can still can rewatch it. You can say rewatch, right? You can watch it again, in YouTube. Thank you, Pumika. Blessings. So I guess that's it for today about contemplating Dhamma in pairs. Very, very wonderful discourse to learn. So I have attached the links to you so you can read it through anytime you want. Okay. Now let's say Satu together 3 times. Satu, 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 Anumodhami. May you all be healthy, happy, and then be safe wherever you are, and be prosperous both in the world, in the earth, in the world, like now, your community, your society, and in the Dhamma world, be able to follow the Noble Eightfold Path, to rightly understand the Four Noble Truths, the 12 links of dependent origination, and then to be able to reach the right liberation, the true awakening one day together. And also I have to mention that I'm not an expert in the Dhamma, so this is like that we can share and then we can learn together. If you think that it might not be correct, and you can help me to understand more, and then we can, study together. Okay? Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Okay. Have a good day, everyone. Goodbye. See you again next week.